picture. But anyways, hi, how are we doing here? I just had a little mini breakdown. Not mini. Hi, how are we doing? So if you followed my story, then you know that in 2021 I became a Sundance Fellow. Yay! It was literally, it felt life-changing. One of the first cohorts for the Trans Possibilities Intensive. And that was for my script, The Waltz, about when a lonely Black trans woman joins a ballroom dance class to reclaim the fairy tale romance she's always dreamed of. She's paired with an awkward cis man preparing for his sister's wedding, forcing them to both stumble through fear, desire, and prejudice as an unlikely partnership begins to feel dangerously like the start of something. Even in just talking about it, I start smiling. But anyways, so that's the project that helped me become a Sundance Fellow, and I got to be amongst an amazing cohort. We went through trying to raise money for it, including this one special thing or whatever, and then 2023 happened in the midst of us reaching out, and Jake Casey over from Daisy Phase Productions and Danielle Benedict, like, they were both amazing, and they read the script and they were like, all right, let's see what we can make happen. And they started reaching out to a whole bunch of people and giving me updates of like, so and so has read the script, and every single time I'm like, oh my god, this is absolutely wild. And I cry when I heard some of the names of like people reading my script, you know, because like it's a big fucking deal. And then that was all happening, found out we didn't get into that program, so we decided to try and raise funds and find, you know, monies on our own. It's really hard to talk about 2023 because that was an absolute shit year. Like, just absolutely shit, you know? The only way out is through it, you know? To start off with, like, you know, I became estranged from my parents during 2023, and I don't really talk about this publicly because it is our relationship and we're trying to work on it, so I really don't like commenting on it publicly. But there was something that happened in 2023 where it's like so many blinders were lifted off, and it was just like, we need to reevaluate everything, you know? And I mean, I didn't talk to them for the rest of the year. Also too, I filed for bankruptcy because like the pandemic just decimated my finances, you know? And all the while still trying to pay bills, to push this project forward. And then I got presented with the offer to potentially have a biological child, and it was like, oh my god, the offer of a lifetime, you know. But it would require going off of hormones for like, I thought like 3 months, and how naive was I to think just like 3 months would be enough time to do that, you know? And at the same time, so much was happening, you know, the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing was happening with Budweiser, and that was horrible. And that year alone, we saw increasing ads attacking trans people in the midst of trying to raise these funds. Like, it was, if 2015 was the year of the trans tipping point, 2023 was another tipping point in the completely opposite direction of just everything. $200 million spent vilifying trans people, and for what reason? Neither here nor there. So, went off of hormones in May while still trying to actively raise money to make this film $750 to $1.5 million. You know, that's a fucking lot of money. There was just this ticking clock until my mental health got to be too bad. And I literally thought, you know, oh, I go off of hormones for 3 months, like, then I'm able to, like, you know, produce genetic material, and then, you know, bada bing, bada boom, like, I'll be back on hormones and living my best life again, and we'll see if a baby happens. No, it was 3 months just to get the anti-androgen out of my system so that my body could start producing stuff again. And then once I had enough testosterone in my system, then it was like, all right, now you need to wait a little bit more before your body can start producing the genetic material. And it was the worst mental health episode I've ever experienced in my life. And that's saying something, having gone through something when I was in college, like, because of some things that happened. All of that to say, like, by July of 2023, I was like, I have maybe a month left in me best case scenario, but probably we're 2 weeks away from like me being completely mentally incapacitated to just needing to be able to do the bare minimum to make it through the day. And so we kind of wound everything down. And I was having to choose between two dreams of wanting a baby and really wanting to get the film made, you know? And I chose baby, and I don't regret it for 1 second. I'm crying not because of the choice to go on that fertility journey, but the fact that, you know, along the way we lost we lost 2 embryos, and so that was 2024. And you know, there's all those other things circulating too, but it's like overall, it's just a lot, you know? And so I left that behind and really focused on finding my way back. And I kept thinking like, oh, I've returned, like I'm back on hormones. And no, I wasn't back. Like I went back on in July of 2024. And again, it takes things a while to return to the system. And I thought, oh, I'm back by, you know, 3 months later. And it's like, I'm still not really back. Like I didn't feel like I had returned back to myself until the start of 2025, you know? So there's just a lot. And meanwhile, the industry is just imploding, and I'm left with this sense of like, what am I even doing? Like the amount of auditions for trans people have just trickled. And I got the chance to present Angelica Ross with an Icon Award out on film last year and then interview her. And it's just like hearing her talk, it's like, and then hearing Laverne Cox earlier this year speak, if like the 2 leading Black trans women actresses are having this fucking hard of a time, then what does that say for like my chances, you know? So I started making my peace with letting go of the dream of having the waltz. And, you know, it's like every time I start letting go of the dream of something, of fully mourning it, of setting it sail on the ship or whatever, something comes back around and is like, okay, but what if we did this? When I had released the whole idea of having a baby at the beginning of 2023, the option presented itself. I was like, universe, are you fucking kidding me? And then when I had released the whole idea of like ever getting married at the beginning of 2025, we got married October of that year. And at the beginning of this year, I had released the waltz. I had really released it because the whole experience was just traumatizing. And then this opportunity comes around again, and it's like, I can't say no. Because the dream still exists, you know? So it's like, what do I do? And literally, like, I shit you not, every day from 2022 to 2023, literally just waking up every morning and crying. I would go to my studio and I would cry. And then it was like, once I had my crying session, it was like, all right, what shit do I need to get done? And I'm back to that again of just trying to prepare for this. And meanwhile, like last week, I say no auditions, but last week I had 2 auditions while, you know, trying to prepare for Fuck If I Know, like while Eddie's out of town. And it's a lot. And it's just a fucking lot. And so the whole reason I came on here to talk to you all is because I just had another crying session as I'm trying to put together materials to bring this back up. And it's going to take a lot of not just me holding this, but releasing so much of it so that it's not living in my body like it was the last time and I'm not carrying it alone. Anyways, I need to get back to producing the materials and distracting myself by cleaning the house. That's one thing that when I'm mentally whatever, like I need to procrastinate. I'm like, well, let me do something productive. Let me physically go clean. Well, let me go clean because it gets my body moving and gets the anxiety out of me, and then I'm left with a clean house. So, anyways, thanks for listening. I was gonna record some Duchess videos today, but that was not happening today, so maybe tomorrow. All right.